You know, I've been taking a lot of victory laps lately. I'm on a hot streak, if you will, on takes on this channel. You know, let me not hurt myself, patting myself on the back. But we talked about this a few weeks ago, and let's just kind of double down on this Philadelphia Eagles thing. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, there's another report out there. Still relationship, a little fractured. Still working on it. Nick Sirianni can say whatever he wants to the cameras. Oh, we're working on it. Our relationship's in a good place. Things don't leak, especially in the East Coast media, more than once if something's not at least kind of true. And if there is even a slight fracture between head coach and quarterback, bail out the season. Bail out the season. And personally, I'm on the side of Jalen Hurts here. Jalen Hurts is the leader of this football team, and I think a pretty good quarterback. And I watched him outplay Patrick Mahomes for 3.5 quarters in the Super Bowl. Anyone that tells me Jalen Hurts can't play is just flat out wrong. Maybe he peaked. Maybe there's some common ground between what we saw last year and what we saw 2 years ago. But Jalen Hurts is a more than capable quarterback in the NFL. And sure, maybe he's missing some tangibles, but the intangibles, a leader, mature, I love a lot of things about Jalen Hurts. It's why I was banging the table last year and saying, fire this buffoon of a head coach in Nick Sirianni. This guy is a man-child. He's too emotive on the sidelines. He's overall too emotional. Do you remember in the Super Bowl when he was waving at the Chiefs from the sideline and Jalen Hurts had to say, no, let's not do that? The head coach, I don't care if it's Patrick Mahomes, should always be more mature than the quarterback. He is also one of the leaders of this team. He's the leader of men. Jalen Hurts is the leader of the offense. Nick Sirianni is the leader of the whole team. And if you have a head coach acting like a buffoon on the sidelines, that shows your hand. And just like how I mentioned the other day with Colorado football, kids emulate their parents' actions. A lot of us grow up maybe not wanting to be like our parents, but end up having a lot of traits like our parents. Well, similar to players, are going to model after their head coach, are going to emulate after their head coach. And that's why things fell apart last year. Nick Sirianni's not a great leader. I'm sorry, Philadelphia Eagles fans, but call it what it is. Be honest with yourself. Be that hard-nosed East Coast media fan base that demands success. You're not the West Coast. You're not the Cleveland Browns. You demand success. So the only way to get success is to be honest. Nick Sirianni is a man-child. He emotes. He's emotional. He's not a great leader of men. His very first press conference, he nuked that as well. So be honest with yourself. He was propped up by Shane Steichen, the now head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and the now head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon. Two grown-up adults. Jonathan Gannon last year went into Philadelphia with a quarterback at that point who had played 4 games in the offense and a terrible defense, and ended the Philadelphia Eagles season right then and there. Because Jonathan Gannon's mature. Because he's a leader of men. And Shane Steichen almost got a team into the playoffs in which was starting Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Can you just be honest with yourself, Eagles fans? Can you just stop being a fanboy for 1 second? When I see another story, the third one I've seen so far in the past few months, the relationship between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts is fractured, needs repairing, that's a bad sign. And your season's dead on arrival. Noisy off seasons almost always equate to disappointing regular seasons. And the Eagles are going to be possibly the most disappointing team in the NFL this year. All that talent, all that flash, for what? A coach who is not a leader. A quarterback that doesn't see eye to eye with him. And I didn't like their moves in the offseason. Eagles fans can pound the table how great it was they got Saquon Barkley. Awesome. Check the statistics. DeAndre Swift, Saquon Barkley, not that different. Your defensive backs couldn't cover anyone last year. And what do you do to replace that? You go get the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who, little secret to you, wasn't great last year with the Detroit Lions, as well as you fill the other holes with rookies. And what's the biggest learning curve outside of quarterback for rookies in terms of positions? Cornerback. They tend to get torched in their first year. Or towards the end, or in their second year, they start to figure it out. The evidence continues to mount against the Philadelphia Eagles. And when I see again that the relationship needs fixing, the season's dead on arrival. I wouldn't be shocked if the Philadelphia Eagles made the playoffs off of talent alone. Not because of coaching, talent alone. But I wouldn't expect them to win any games. They'll lose in the wild card round. They'll barely make it into the playoffs, if that even happens. And that will only happen not because of coaching, because there's real talent on that team. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts, who we mentioned a second ago. I can say what I want about Saquon Barkley, but I would have used the resources of money allocated to the running back position, to the cornerback position. But I can't lie, Saquon Barkley's still a real dude. There's a lot of talent on this team. They might make the playoffs. They're not a Super Bowl contender. They won't win a singular playoff game. And all of the evidence is mounting against the Philadelphia Eagles. And in my opinion, it is starting to look like they will indeed win the title of most disappointing team in the NFL this season.